She rose to fame on reality TV, captured hearts online, and lived in the spotlight, but nothing prepared the world for what happened next. Masika Kalysha lost her husband in a tragic accident, and the way she shared her grief shocked millions. Funeral photos went viral, sparking outrage, debate, and accusations that she crossed a line. Was it genuine mourning, or a calculated move for attention? Today, we're diving deep into the story that has the internet divided, uncovering the truth behind the drama, the family reactions, and the controversial posts that turned tragedy into headline news. Stay tuned. This is a story you won't believe. Many people were first introduced to Masika Kalysha through the reality TV show Love and Hip Hop, where she became part of the fast-moving world of entertainment, relationships, and social media fame. Over time, her name continued to circulate in blogs and celebrity gossip pages, especially after she became connected to well-known artists and public figures. A lot of people believe that she shares a child with rapper Fetty Wap, though that detail has never been fully confirmed by either party publicly. Still, the assumption alone kept Masika in the spotlight, and many people followed her journey as her life continued to unfold online. Recently, however, Masika has gained attention for a much more devastating reason, one that no family should ever have to experience. Her husband, Jamar Champ, tragically passed away in a severe car accident in Houston, Texas. According to reports circulating online, another driver was traveling the wrong way when they collided with Jamar's Tesla Cybertruck, sending it into the path of an 18-wheeler. The crash was violent and sudden, and unfortunately, Jamar did not survive his injuries. The news was heartbreaking for those who knew him and for many others who watched the situation develop through social media. Yet despite the tragedy, the spotlight on Masika only grew brighter, and not in a sympathetic way. Instead of focusing solely on grieving privately, Masika posted a set of funeral day photos that looked more like a dramatic photo shoot than a somber farewell. These images quickly spread online and triggered a firestorm of criticism. People felt that the photos appeared staged, too glamorous, or too posed for a moment that should have been filled with raw emotion and respect. Many viewers struggled to understand why a funeral would become content for Instagram, especially so soon after the loss. To fully understand how the drama escalated, it helps to know more about Masika's personal history. Before meeting Jamar, Masika was involved in a relationship with Young Berg, a fellow Love and Hip Hop cast member, shortly after he ended things with Hazel, a situation that had already created tension and headlines. Later, Masika's life changed again when she became a mother, welcoming a daughter connected to Fetty Wap, which brought another wave of public attention her way. As time went on, Masika found love with Jamar, and the two eventually married and had another beautiful child together. On social media, she proudly shared moments from their family life, showing two adorable children and a household that seemed filled with love. Recently, some blogs and entertainment outlets have been describing Jamar as Masika's estranged husband, implying that the marriage may have faced separation or distance before his passing. But as others pointed out, the couple was still legally married, and the emotional complexities of their relationship were not fully known to the public. Because of that, many people believe that, regardless of what was happening privately, Jamar was still her husband in every legal and respectful sense of the word. Losing a spouse is devastating, even if circumstances are complicated. However, once the funeral photos were shared online, emotions ran extremely high, especially within Jamar's family. His brother, who goes by the name Black Boy on social media, publicly expressed anger and frustration. In posts that quickly spread through blogs, he accused Masika of not crying for his brother, implying that her sadness didn't seem genuine to him. He used harsh language and threatened to reveal private information if she continued to behave in ways that he felt disrespected Jamar's memory. To him, the funeral was sacred, not something that should be turned into a digital spectacle. These posts sparked heated debates online. Some people sided with the brother, arguing that grief should be private and that posting photos from a funeral can seem insensitive or self-focused. Others defended Masika, saying that everyone mourns differently and that social media has become a way many people express emotions and seek comfort during tragedy. As expected, the situation became louder and more dramatic as more spectators jumped into the conversation. Eventually, Masika responded with a strong message of her own. In a post written in a dark, serious tone, she stated that she would not explain herself to anyone, not now, not later. She made it clear that her social media page is her space, and if anyone has a problem with how she chooses to share her life, her grief, or her family, they are free to unfollow her and move on. She thanked the people who continue to support her and her children, saying their kindness and presence mean more than they know. Her message made one thing clear: She was not going to be shamed into silence. Whether people agreed with her or not, she stood firmly by her decisions. This entire situation, a tragic loss mixed with public conflict, has sparked bigger conversations online. It raises uncomfortable but important questions about the blurred lines between real life and social media, especially for people who live part of their lives in the public eye. When someone becomes well-known through reality TV and online influence, where is the boundary between private grief and digital storytelling? Who decides what is appropriate, and who is overstepping? As the dust continues to settle, one thing remains certain. The story of Masika Kalysha and Jamar Champ is not just another celebrity drama. It's a reflection of how complicated life can become when love, loss, fame, and social media are all intertwined. And the internet is watching every move. After the controversy surrounding the funeral photos, Masika later addressed the situation on her social media. She posted a statement making it very clear that she would not feel the need to explain or justify her actions to anyone. In her message, she expressed gratitude toward the people who have continued to support her and her children during such a difficult time, noting that their presence and concern have meant more than words could express. She emphasized that even small gestures, like checking in or showing up, carry immense value in moments of grief. Masika made it evident that she intended to prioritize her own family's needs and well-being over public opinion, signaling that the scrutiny and criticism would not control her choices. At the same time, many observers online began dissecting her relationship with her late husband, Jamar Champ, which added fuel to the fire. Reports and discussions suggested that Masika and Jamar were no longer on good terms at the time of his death. Some claimed that the couple was estranged, and their marriage may have been facing serious difficulties before the tragic accident. This knowledge shaped public perception, leading many to question the sincerity of Masika's expressions of grief, particularly in the highly stylized photos from the funeral. The images, which showed her in dramatic poses with her children visibly upset beside her, struck many as more theatrical than heartfelt. Some critics argued that the way the funeral was portrayed appeared designed for attention, rather than as a genuine display of mourning. The staged nature of the photos, combined with the timing and context, left people debating whether Masika's posts were about coping with loss or about maintaining relevance in the public eye. Some commentators went even further, suggesting that Masika's posts were part of a deliberate effort to gain clout on social media. In a world where likes, shares, and comments translate into influence, and in many cases, income, moments of high emotion can become opportunities for visibility. The more dramatic or shocking the content, the more engagement it attracts, and that engagement becomes a currency in the influencer economy. For someone who has built a career partly on public attention, even personal tragedy can be reframed as an opportunity to maintain relevance. Amid this conversation, the speaker also addressed the reactions of Jamar's family, acknowledging that their anger and pain were completely understandable. Losing a loved one is inherently devastating, and witnessing moments that seem performative or disrespectful can amplify the grief. However, the speaker made a key point: Masika's behavior, from his perspective, was not random or unexpected. He argued that when someone enters a relationship with a person whose lifestyle revolves around attention-seeking, social media, and public validation, certain behaviors are almost inevitable. He emphasized that individuals who have built their identities online, constantly posting details of their lives, measuring self-worth through likes and comments, and curating a persona for public consumption, tend to carry those habits into every aspect of their personal lives. This includes situations of intense emotional significance. In other words, if someone is accustomed to living publicly and thriving on attention, their need to remain visible does not vanish when tragedy strikes. In fact, emotional and high-stakes moments often amplify that behavior because dramatic situations naturally draw more eyes. The speaker described this dynamic as a kind of cycle. Attention fuels influence, influence fuels engagement, and engagement sustains relevance, which, in turn, can support financial stability and personal brand growth. For influencers who rely on public attention as their primary source of income, staying relevant is not just a matter of pride or vanity, it's a necessity. Clout, as the speaker puts it, becomes both fuel and oxygen. Without constant visibility, their influence diminishes, opportunities shrink, and the public's memory moves on. Therefore, for someone like Masika, being present and active on social media, even during a time of mourning, can be viewed as part of a larger pattern of behavior rather than a deliberate act of insensitivity. The speaker stressed that this is not meant to excuse hurtful or insensitive actions. Families of deceased loved ones have every right to feel upset when moments that should be private are shared publicly. Yet, he pointed out that these situations are also predictable. When someone knowingly partners with a person whose life and career revolve around attention, the possibility of public displays, even controversial or misunderstood ones, is inherent to that choice. The clash between private grief and public persona is almost unavoidable in such relationships. He concluded by framing the behavior in the context of social media culture at large. Clout chasers, by nature, are constantly seeking opportunities to be seen. They rarely take breaks from the spotlight, and even deeply personal moments can be filtered through the lens of online relevance. In the case of Mika, her posts, whether meant as genuine expression or not, reflected the realities of a life lived partially in public, where the boundaries between private and performative emotion are increasingly blurred. The speaker's argument is clear. In a world where influence is everything, moments of vulnerability are not always private, and attention-seeking behavior, even during tragedy, is often an extension of a lifestyle that has been built over years of public exposure. He argues that influencers who come from reality TV, in particular, are usually trained by the industry to make everything bigger, louder, and more dramatic than it actually is. Reality TV's success doesn't come from privacy, it comes from chaos, controversy, and people having opinions about your life. When a person gains fame from that world, the line between what should remain personal and what should be shared publicly almost disappears. It becomes second nature to constantly think, will this get engagement? Will this bring in a new audience? Will this help my brand stay alive? So when a tragedy happens, even something as devastating and sacred as a funeral, their mind may not immediately go to grief. Instead, it may jump to how that moment can be turned into content. It's not necessarily about disrespecting the person who passed away, but more about a deeply ingrained instinct that every life event is an opportunity to maintain influence and gather attention. In the speaker's view, that mindset creates a dangerous emotional disconnect, where authenticity gets overshadowed by online performance. He points out that for many people who become famous through reality shows or social media drama, their financial stability is directly linked to how visible they are. They don't have a traditional job to fall back on, no steady paycheck, no stable company, no real career built from skills outside the spotlight. Their income relies heavily on sponsorships, brand deals, online promotions, and social media traffic. That means they constantly have to remind the world they exist, because the internet moves fast and forgets even faster. If they disappear from the feed for too long, someone else replaces them as the trending topic. This constant pressure to stay seen pushes influencers to create content out of everything. Happy moments turn into photo shoots, vacations become vlog episodes, and even motherhood is marketed as a lifestyle brand. So when a heartbreaking event happens, like losing a partner, they don't suddenly gain a different set of values. The impulse to document, share, and monetize the moment is still there. The speaker believes it's important for people watching from the outside to understand that this is not an accident, it's a pattern baked into influencer culture. He adds that relationships involving people who crave attention are complicated from the start. While everything may look glamorous at first, the nice cars, the designer clothes, the party lifestyle, and the constant compliments online, there is a hidden cost. The person on the other side of that relationship has to share their partner with the entire internet. Private arguments become public shade. Family moments become content opportunities. And affection becomes less about genuine connection and more about what will look good online. This is why the speaker is firm in saying that if someone decides to marry or date a person whose identity relies on being famous, they need to be prepared for these consequences. It may feel romantic in the beginning, but eventually, the need for attention will always come first. And that doesn't stop even when death is involved. When influencers only feel valued while being watched, they can no longer separate real life from the show they have created. The speaker also makes it clear that none of this excuses the hurt that behavior can cause. Families mourning a loved one deserve privacy and respect. Seeing someone turn a funeral, a moment of deep grief, into a staged photo shoot or a viral post can feel like salt being poured directly into fresh wounds. They are trying to process a loss, while the influencer is treating the same moment like a brand-building opportunity. It's painful, it's confusing, and it feels incredibly disrespectful. But from the speaker's viewpoint, this situation should not come as a shock. When you choose to build a relationship with a clout-driven personality, you are choosing to live with the consequences of their online obsession. If your partner has spent years putting every part of their life on display for strangers, it's unrealistic to believe they will suddenly change when the stakes get higher. The internet is their comfort zone. Validation from viewers is what keeps them going. And tragedy can become the biggest stage of all. He concludes with a reality check. Social media influencers are not wired the same way as people who live privately. They are constantly thinking about what will keep them trending, relevant, and talked about. They thrive on attention because it is their currency, the one thing they need to feel successful. So if someone doesn't want their most vulnerable moments turned into content, they should be careful who they give access to those moments. In this new digital era, even grief can become entertainment, and clout chasing never pauses, not even for a funeral. The speaker continues by pointing out a growing pattern he sees across social media, especially in the influencer world. According to him, many influencers, including Mika, present an image of wealth, success, and luxury online, but much of it isn't genuine. In his view, the flashy cars, designer outfits, and glamorous lifestyles are often rented, borrowed, or carefully staged just for content. It's a performance for likes, not a reflection of real financial stability. He argues that these influencers rarely run solid businesses that create value or generate long-term income. Instead, they rely on quick-fix ventures, trendy beauty brands, vague financial workshops, and get-rich-fast courses, all designed more for clout than genuine success. To him, this creates an illusion of accomplishment without anything substantial behind it. He uses Mika as an example, explaining that her online activity appears to follow this blueprint. She offers stock trading tips, wealth bundles, and various online programs that promise knowledge and financial success. However, he claims these services seem similar to what many other influencers sell: content that looks helpful on the surface but doesn't offer deep expertise or meaningful results. It appears to him like a business setup focused more on collecting money from followers than building a real company with employees and long-term goals. He calls these types of ventures low-effort hustles, where the influencer's main skill is convincing others to believe in a lifestyle they don't truly have. Then, he shifts to talking about Jamar. When looking at his social media, it's easy to see why people might assume he was successful. He showed off designer clothing, luxury cars, including a Rolls-Royce, and a lifestyle that suggested he was doing well financially. His online presence displayed confidence, wealth, and a certain pride in what he owned. This online image, the speaker suggests, might have been part of the reason Mika and Jamar connected. They both enjoyed attention, the spotlight, and the admiration that comes from showing off a glamorous life. They understood each other's attraction to fame and online validation, and that common ground may have played a big role in their relationship. However, while he can see why they fit together on that level, he also strongly believes Mika crossed a line with how she handled Jamar's funeral. The speaker says that sharing stage-looking pictures of herself crying next to the casket, with dramatic poses, perfect nails, and heartbreaking moments captured as if for a fashion shoot, made the situation feel more like a publicity stunt than a moment of grieving. He emphasizes that many people, especially Jamar's family, were deeply hurt and offended by those posts. They were already dealing with the unimaginable pain of losing someone they loved, and seeing those images online made that grief even heavier. Still, the speaker is firm in his belief that this behavior shouldn't surprise anyone. He argues that clout-chasing influencers survive on attention. They need engagement, views, comments, shares, because that's how they maintain relevance and make money. Without the spotlight, their lifestyle begins to fade. So even a funeral, which should be a private and emotional time, becomes content for social media. In his view, when someone's entire public identity is built on being seen, they may struggle to turn off that mindset, even during tragedy. He also brings up the fact that Mika and Jamar were reportedly estranged at the time of his death. Their marriage wasn't in a good place, and he suggests she may have been involved with someone else, which only adds to the family's frustration. To them, it feels like she didn't show this level of devotion when he was alive, so her dramatic sadness online now rings hollow. That emotional disconnect between her public display and the reality of their relationship feeds the belief that the posts were more for show than sorrow. Ultimately, the speaker emphasizes that the family has every right to be upset. Losing a loved one is painful enough on its own. Watching their death become a marketing moment is a level of hurt most people will never understand. Yet, he also says there's a difficult lesson hidden in this situation. When someone chooses to marry a person whose identity is tied to fame, attention, and online clout, they can't be completely shocked when those traits show up in moments where privacy and respect should come first. He compares it to trusting a scammer in business. If they do what scammers do, you can't be surprised. He finishes with a blunt truth from his point of view: clout-chasing influencers don't stop chasing clout just because tragedy strikes. For them, exposure is everything. And when someone's livelihood depends on staying relevant online, no situation is off-limits, not even a funeral.